On behalf of Rotary, Rotaract, and Interact Clubs of South Calcutta, South City, Das, I, Ajay Agarwal, welcome you all to our webinar, Satrangi, Photography and Us. Our panelist, Anuja Jain, who is an actor, cinematographer, and photographer. Through this webinar, she aims to introduce the basics of photography to our audience today and help them polish their photography skills. Let us see the 7 colors of rainbow through Satrangi and through the lenses of Anuja Jain.
Thank you so much. Thank you, everybody. So, there are a couple of things that we are going to talk about today relating to photography, relating to how pictures can come out beautiful with the help of whichever gadget that we hold in our hand, whether it's a phone or a DSLR camera. It can also be a small pocket camera. We are now advancing towards the Pro. On Pro, there is something, when we talk about photography, there are 3 most important things that we need to know as the thumb rule when it is photography. One is shutter. So when we talk about shutter is basically a window which opens and closes and allows light to pass through, and then it creates an image on the image plane. So if you see this GIF on the screen, that's the shutter. If you see that green patch in the right behind the shutter, that is the image plane where the image is getting recorded. Now, the shutter opens and then closes. It allows light to pass through for that stipulated amount of time that we have assigned the shutter to shutter speed now. And now I am going to merge shutter with something which is called illumination. Till now, we were talking about shutter in terms of understanding what speed does. But shutter controls exposure value as well. So like I said, 125 part of a second is the shutter that is widely used. But at the same time, I randomly set 125 part of a second. My screen is absolutely dark on the left hand side. Experimenting. Oh, my picture is too dark. I just pull down my shutter, knowingly that 60 part of a second is slower than 125. It is going to be open for a longer duration compared to 125. So that's how I got those very faintly looking image on my screen. Now, I'm not happy with this picture. So I again change my setting. And if you see on this fresh image, I see 1/30. So 1/30 is again slower than 60 part of a second, which means that 30 part of a second, if 125 part of a second is this, 60 was this, 30 is this. So as we are increasing the duration, it is allowing light to pass through. It is allowing the image to get illuminated on the image plane. But I'm still not happy. So I randomly pick this one, which is 1/4 part of a second. What is the disadvantage of 1/4 part of a second? 1/4 part of a second definitely is. It is illuminated. I can see the pencil, but at the same time, it is absolutely blurred. Because when I was taking my picture, I tend to jerk. When I'm jerking my phone, I am blurring my image. 1/4 part of a second is losing, or 1/4 part of a second, or 1/10 part of a second, or 1/8 part of a second. They might increase the visibility, they might illuminate my object, they might illuminate my portrait, they might illuminate the group of people that I am clicking. But what if people in front of me, they blink, they talk, they look away? All these movements, I am animated now, my hands are constantly moving. Now, if you take a picture of mine at 1/4 part of a second, this will be blurred. My hands are going to get blurred. The only reason is This speed is much faster than 1/4 part of a second, despite of the fact that my face, my hands are well illuminated. Like these pencils are well illuminated, but my hands jerk, I blurred the image. Of course, yes, we are going back to 125 part of a second, 125 part of a second, like I said, that it is one of the most widely used shutter because it syncs with the speed of light. At the same time, it is faster than a day-to-day human life. How do I take a picture at 125 part of a second despite of the fact that it is giving me dark image? Of course, if I'm going back here, 125 part of a second over here is giving me dark image, but 1/4 part of a second is giving me a well illuminated image, but it is blurred. What is the point of me taking such a bad picture? There's no point. How do I reach 125 part of a second? There is something called balancing. And now we are going to balance with the help of ISO. ISO is the sensitivity of the image plane, sensitivity towards light. So as we keep increasing the ISO, the sensitivity of the image plane will keep increasing. So here on the first picture, you see 50 ISO. 50 ISO is the least sensitive towards light. We keep increasing, we become more and more sensitive, which means that the camera is allowing us to take a faster shutter speed so that I don't blur my picture. So here we have gone to 400 ISO. From 50 we jumped to 100, from 100 we jumped to 200, 200, say 400, 400, after 400 we go to 800, after 800 we go to 1600, and then we land up to 3200. So 3200, and here this is 125 part of a second, and 3200 is at, this is what, or this is the kind of picture that we got at this particular set. So ISO and shutter, these two are the most important aspect when we talk about exposure value. Exposure value is basically nothing. It is a well illuminated, good looking picture. That's it. This is how, or this is the easiest way that I can explain exposure. And we are talking about now is aperture. We spoke about shutter, we spoke about ISO, and now we are going to talk about aperture. Aperture also controls amount of light. I'm going back to shutter. Shutter controls time of light. Aperture controls amount of light, and ISO is sensitivity to light. So these three are the major factors in a DSLR camera when we look at illuminating or taking a picture correctly in terms of light. Next.
Yeah, so what is a baseline DSLR camera for a new person interested in photography?
Baseline DSLR camera.
Right.
I don't know what to answer to this question. But yes, today photography is absolutely based on budget, on pocket. And the cameras start at 35, the cameras go to about 3,35,000. So what is suiting your budget? Now, if you're absolutely new, I always suggest my students and my people who come to learn photography from me is spend only that much which will help you learn, and after learning go and get something which will help you earn. So please do not put your earning into something which will go absolutely in your learning. Please put your learning into earning. So that is how I would define what should be the right amount for an entry level or somebody who's absolutely new to the subject. That's how I hope 35 maybe, if you want figures. So I guess entry level probably between 35 and 50.
Okay.
I extend a really hearty vote of thanks to our esteemed panelist, Miss Anuja Jain ma'am, who spared time from her busiest schedule uh, to grace the occasion. Today, we had an opportunity to hear your thoughts on mobile and professional photography, which have enlightened our minds and shown us a different picture to photography.
Sanjay ji, you have any questions from UK?
No. I haven't. I'm spellbound with the presentation. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. No questions.
It was just a fantastic presentation, Anju. I must say, layman can understand the way you have presented.
Thank you.
Awesome.
I have a question from Anuja ma'am. That I've seen a video on photography. They suggest that never to use auto mode in digital camera.
Sorry, never?
Is it right?
Never
to use auto mode.
Never use
Auto
auto
mode
mode?
in digital camera. Is it right?
Yes, it is right. I mean, see, the reason people say not to use an automatic mode in a DSLR camera, when you have all the modes in your hand, like shutter, aperture and ISO, when you can set them manually and you can create a beautiful art with those settings, why are we using an auto mode? Why are we using a machine's brain rather than using our own brain? I guess we are far more superior than the machine that we have in front of us. It can definitely give us wonderful things, but at the end of it, we are the creators of those machines. So auto is a complete no-no. I am going to run the horse. The horse is not going to run me. So that's how it is.